What's up, everybody? This is the Action Network NFL podcast. I am your host, Chris Raybon. This is our early win total episodes. My dude Stuckey will be joining in just a second. But to kick off the show for our NFC win totals, I just want to let you guys know that to any listeners that are going to be out in Vegas next week, Action Network is hosting a pre-NFL draft happy hour at Circus Stadium Swim in downtown Las Vegas next Wednesday, April 27th. We've got an open bar, surprise guests, and betting tips from some of your favorite action pros. Darren Ravel will be there. I would have loved to be there, but April 27th is my birthday, so I will not. But the event is 21 plus. It's totally free, but it does require an RSVP. So if you're in Vegas next week, just check out the link in this episode description to RSVP. Should be pretty litty. Stuck. What's going on, man? Haven't talked to you in a few.
What's going on, brother? Yeah, just some nice rest and relaxation after college basketball. It's kind of my slow time of the year. So I took some time. It's time with friends, some time with family coming up, and been reading and just kind of getting away from sports, although still grinding a little bit. But last couple of days, updated all my NFL stuff, made sure I haven't missed anything in some of the off-season craziness. So excited to talk about the NFL for the first time in a while. But I was excited to go read some NFL stuff over the past couple of days and get that feeling back, even though it's farther away. You got the draft coming out, then we'll have the schedule release. So it's nice to have a little teaser, little off-season talk, and see what we think of some of these teams and the moves that they've made and where there may be some value. And of course, we'll talk again. We'll have draft episodes. I won't be on them. You will. We'll obviously have Kerner on there as well. Have great draft prop stuff, but we'll also talk, later after, schedules come out, drafts happen, more free agency signings. So this is kind of our first taste, but it's always nice to talk some NFL.
Absolutely. And we already have a draft episode out with Scott Smith, one of the best mock drafters in the business. He talked about some early props that he liked. So check that out if you haven't heard it. But let's jump right into the NFC here with win totals and just kind of a way to kind of talk about some of the moves and don't really recommend throwing the whole bankroll on any of these at this time of the year, but just to kind of set everything up and see if there's anything we like. Let's start with the East. You have Dallas at 10.5 wins. You have the Philadelphia Eagles at 8.5, and then the Giants and Commanders are at 7. What are your initial thoughts about the NFC East?
Yeah, when I first look at the NFC East, I think it's a really fascinating division because when I look at the NFC as a whole, and we're going to get into some of these other divisions, I look at with Tom Brady coming back, although I believe that entire story. I don't know if it's been validated with him trying to backdoor to go to Miami, but he's back in Tampa. And you look at that division, which we'll talk about. It's like, who's winning it besides Tampa, barring, lots of injuries. You look at the NFC, you look how rusty I am. Look at the NFC North. It's like, all right, who's winning it besides the Packers? Right. I mean, the Vikings, maybe. The Packers did lose Devontae Adams, which we'll talk about, but still the Packers division. Vikings maybe are your intriguing team there. So like the NFC West, I don't think that, you look at the futures market is what I'm really referring to. The Seahawks are done. We'll talk about them. The Rams, I don't think that there's any value. The 49ers, again, I don't see any value there. I'm not a buyer in the Cardinals. So when I'm talking high level is where I'm going to kind of break into the NFC East. It's like, all right, who's the sleeper in this division? If you're looking for a long shot future that can get in as a wild card, if you assume that Dallas wins the division, who can make a run? Because I think that's where you have to target in the NFC. The NFC is nowhere close to as deep as the AFC. And I think that maybe one of these teams in the NFC East, not named the Cowboys, could sneak into a wild card. And then, okay, who has the kind of pedigree, the staff, the quarterback to make a run? Who's going to take that next step this year potentially? So that's how I kind of looked at the NFC East, because I think Dallas got worse. You lose Amari Cooper, you lose a Randy Gregory in that just debacle with the salary. You lose Al Collins, you lose Connor Williams. I mean, like it's their offensive line is now, it goes from this Cowboys offensive line was like 2 years ago. It's like, this is the best offensive line in the NFL. Now, potential weakness. You don't have Amari Cooper. The defense thrived off turnovers last year. Not sure that can persist. Diggs regression, especially. So I think Dallas got worse. And I think that the Commanders, I don't really see much that they did to get better. I'm not a believer in Carson Wentz. So it comes down to me, the Eagles and the Giants. And here's the question. It's, do you believe in the new staff of the Giants, which I think is a major upgrade across the board from management on down, or the Eagles staff in their second year, where you could take some strides after, they get some pieces to know what they, now they know what they're doing. And what it comes down to is, I think, which quarterback can make the leap. And it's interesting that Brian Daboll now is at the Giants, and we saw Josh Allen make that leap. So the question is, can Daniel Jones make that leap? And the reason I ask about Daniel Jones specifically is if you look at some of his numbers, and if you look at some of Jalen Hurts' passing numbers, they are, they're not going to wow you. And they're not like, oh, this is a guy I think can go win the Super Bowl. But neither were Josh Allen's. But the difference between Hurts and Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones played at Duke, and then Daniel Jones played, with an awful coaching staff, awful coordinators, bad offensive line, a lot of injuries at his skill positions. We've seen Hurts go to Oklahoma and Alabama, play with as good of talent as you can play. So I feel like we've seen his peak as far as accuracy and throwing the ball. So that is the most intriguing thing with the Giants is can Daniel Jones make a leap? And if so, I think they're a really, really if you want to take a long shot in the NFL this year, maybe it's the Giants. I know you're going to have strong opinions on the Giants, so let's start there. What are your thoughts on the Giants, and then just Jones in general? Do you think he has any ceiling that he can reach?
I think he does, because just looking at that Bills stat and on what Daboll did with Josh Allen, and I know it wasn't only him, but I do think there's some unrealized potential there. I also think that it really is going to come down to what the Giants end up doing with those first rounders. And Thomas was
2 top 10 picks, 2 top 10 picks.
He was much improved in last year, but they still need, and I know they signed some, they kind of cobbled together a few interior linemen in free agency, but I think you're going to need to hit on another tackle in that top 10. And
yep.
It's not going to, it can't be like you hit on him and he's good next year. Like if they only have Andrew Thomas and a bunch of kind of free agent, rejects on the interior, it's not going to be enough. So I think they're going to have to, that guy, whoever it ends up being there. I know they're talking Neil and a few other guys, but I just think he has to hit this year for the Giants to kind of get over that win total of 7 and make a run. And then, you're just betting on the improvement all the way around, because in a lot of ways, you're still running back some of the same personnel. I mean, the receiving core looks like it's going to be similar. It's going to be Golladay, Shepard, and Tony. They're not bad receivers. They were bad in Garrett's system, and none of them could stay healthy, and maybe that's an issue. So I think the Giants still have the same low floor, but I do think their ceiling, to your point, is raised if they can hit on these draft picks, because they probably need to hit on a tackle. It'd be ideal for them to probably hit it on a corner at some point as well. And, I know a lot of people are talking about Sauce Gardner. If they can go 2 for 2 in that top 10, I think that goes a long way. And one's on offense, one's on defense, because Daniel Jones is probably one of the worst quarterbacks in the league that you still feel okay giving another year or two. So it's he's not there's certain quarterbacks you just it's over. We don't even have to continue to kind of evaluate. I think Jones does have some unrealized ceiling just because he does have the ability to move around. And the Giants, maybe they're just the Eagles. The Eagles got to the playoffs. They're just the 2021 Eagles in 2022. They got to the playoffs. Probably won't make a run in the playoffs, but can they get there if things break right in this division? You always point out no one ever wins the division 2 years in a row. It's always a toss-up. So I think the Giants kind of stand out to me. I'm not a believer in Carson Wentz. So I'll say that, he's a cool guy, great guy. I just don't quite think he's cut out to be a leader. And I don't think it's going to go well in Washington, which is, they love their football.
There's also bad vibes around there. Like McLaurin, is McLaurin going to sit out? And if that happens, then it's a disaster on offense. There's just not great feelings around there. But yeah, I think that the Giants, and if they get Sauce Gardner, I've the biggest Sauce Gardner fan in the world. I've been hyping that guy for 2 years. I think he's going to be an all-pro within 2 to 3 years. I think he's an absolute star. If the Giants get him and then get Neal at tackle, I'm going to take a flyer on the Giants, because I think their cap space isn't great, and they're going to need guys like Aaron Robinson, who I don't mind. He was hurt last year at corner. He's got to take a leap. Ojulari at the edge, they need something from him. But I like that they brought in Wink Martindale. I like that the Ravens got rid of him, but I like that the Giants are bringing him in. It's just, look, his system and his scheme is not going to work in the AFC against all those elite cornerbacks. But the Giants need a way to generate pressure, and this might be a way to do it, blitzing a lot more. But when Martindale does it, he plays a lot of man, and James Bradbury is not a man corner. He's more of a zone corner. He's a huge cap hit. They got to let him go. I'm assuming they're going to try to trade him. I think they're going to end up dropping him. Sauce Gardner's got to come in, or someone like him, because they're probably going to need a corner that'll fit the scheme a little better. And I mean, their schedule's pretty manageable. I make just my preliminary numbers before the draft. The Giants, I made them 8.3 wins. And now it's not completely refined, but their win total is sitting right around
7. It's 7.
Seven flat. It was 7.5 last year. I think they're going to be better this year. I think just the coaching staff, and then the positive injury luck, the schedule's a little easier. I think the Cowboys got worse. I think Washington is not any better. And I don't think Philly got better. I mean, what did Philly do? Philly added a couple linebackers that might be a better fit for Gannon's system. Maybe they get a bump in year 2 of their coaching staff, but I still don't buy their receiving core, their defensive backs. Can Hurts take that leap? I don't know. I feel like we've seen where Hurts has played with. I don't know. I think that the Hurts is what he is as of right now. So I don't know. I think the division overall got worse. The Giants are going to be better, especially just from a coaching standpoint, health, schedule. So the Giants over win total is one of my favorites on the board. Depending on what they do in the draft and what other teams in the division do, they might just be worth a complete flyer. Then you got to hope for those throwback Giants teams that, they get in with 9 wins and then they go on a run and maybe get to the NFC Championship game. Maybe go to Lambeau. That's what you want. You got to get to Lambeau in the NFC Championship. Other than that, I show a little bit of value on the Eagles over, but that's mainly because I'm low on Washington, and I think Dallas got worse. But for me, this division is about the Giants. I think that that's where the upside is. The bet I'll have the most amount of money on is most likely their win total. But if you're looking for an interesting flyer in the NFC, I think you look at the NFC East, who you think is going to get to a potential wild card, and then whoever you believe in, that quarterback who you think could take the leap. Maybe you're a Wentz guy. And if you are, then okay, maybe you can convince yourself on Washington. Maybe you think Hurts can take that leap. Okay, and then look at the Eagles, because the NFC is not deep. It's you got the Packers, you got your Bucks, you got your Rams and 49ers, but the wild cards, I think one of the teams is going to come from the NFC East, and that's where you could potentially look for a flyer. But I like the Giants win total over. Yeah,
I like the Giants, and I think the Eagles, they actually probably have a more realistic chance at actually winning a playoff game, getting there and actually winning one. Because the one thing I think the Eagles, if they can just upgrade that receiving core with one more guy, ideally you'd like 2, because you have Smith and Goddard is a great pass catching tight end. So you have 2 weapons. If you can you have to get somebody to take those Jalen Reagor snaps.
And they have 2 first-round draft picks. So you assume they're going to get 1.
15 and 18. And then they have 51 in the second. They have 2 third-round picks. So days 1 and 2, they have 5 picks in the top 101. Zach Pascal's not the answer, but he'll probably be, good for them on special teams, and he can be that 4th receiver. If they can replace Reagor at least, ideally Rager and Watkins, and knock each of those guys down to a depth chart, maybe get rid of Rager altogether, and Watkins and Pascal are your, number 4 and 5 guys. That this could be a different team because we know they know how to run, and we know their defensive scheme can work. They just also, now they're going to have another year to kind of add to the personnel, because that's one thing. Like the Eagles scheme, we both like Gannon, but I remember by the end of last year, it was like, yeah, this is like the easiest scheme to play against in the league, because like they didn't have enough, I think, personnel wise, to make it work. So I think the Eagles are intriguing as well, but their win total is also a win and a half higher already. So you're not really getting as much, but I think the Eagles and Giants are the two teams.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm talking like deep flyer, like Eagles are like 40, 45 to 1.
Yeah.
Giants you can find them 100, 110 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. I mean, I have the Eagles projected at 9.3 wins as of right now. I would like for them to get like I like the signings of Reddick and White at linebacker. I think they better fit. It's just a position that they've completely neglected. And I think both of them better fit Gannon's system. I just think they need, if they get like in that first round and they hit with a defensive back and a receiver, then, if you got like I didn't even look at the updated draft projections, but if you ended up with like a Chris Olave and like a Kyle Hamilton, then
he's kind of dropping, so that it's not out of the question. And they have enough capital if they like a guy, and this is always dangerous because they drafted. I mean, I guess it was the last, but they drafted Rager. But they have
their receiving draft have not gone well. But
I mean,
they did hit Smith. They did hit Smith,
and that was kind of a no brainer though. But
who was the kid? Oh, man, I don't even know where he is anymore. Arcega-Whiteside, what's he up to these days?
I thought he was still on the roster. He's just like a special teamer at this point. Yeah, he's still there. But
he basically got drafted because he caught some jump balls at Stanford, and the Eagles were like, "Ooh, we're going to take him in the second round." All right. NFC. Cowboys. I have. Yeah, I mean, and then I know people want to hear about the Cowboys, and the Cowboys their win total is 10.5, over 10.5 minus 115. Last year they went 11-6. Their win total last year was 9.5. I think they got worse. I project them at like 10.3. And they need now, like I said, their offensive line has questions. I think their defense might regress. Questions at safety and linebacker, edge rush now without Gregory. Who's their kicker? But maybe you get an upgrade because you don't have Zerline anymore. But maybe it's the offense. Can the offense bounce back without Cooper and offensive line questions with a healthy Dak all season? How much is that worth? But you don't even know if what's his name's fully healthy, who you're going to need to rely on now, who I like, their other receiver who got hurt in week 17.
Yeah, he might miss some time.
Right. You don't know how long he's going to miss, and then you don't know how healthy he is right away. And you're missing Cooper, you're missing Collins. Now your offensive line isn't as good. So, I mean, the Cowboys win total it's gone up a full win, and I think the Giants could be a little better. The Eagles could be better. And I think the Cowboys got worse. So I don't see any value. Now with the schedule, when I project it out, I'm like 10.2, 10.3. So I'm not going to play the under, but I have no interest in the Cowboys from any futures markets or win totals.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about the Cowboys, and we should kind of point out with the NFC East is why we're spending so long on them, and why, one of the reasons I'm sure you're kind of saying, hey, this is one to look at for like a long shot, is because they play the AFC South. So you got games against the Texans, the Colts, the Titans, and the Jags. And, all four of those, I mean, the Jags should be better, but like, it's not going to be a good division at all. I don't think so. And we kind of, I feel like we argue about this every year about like strength of schedule and how that the AFC South in particular, but I think that's a win for that. That's one of the reasons if the Cowboys do go over, it'll be thanks to that. And then just piling it up on the East as they tend to do at times.
Yeah, even if the Giants don't take this big leap. I mean, look, they got the Jags. You said the Jags,
Texans,
the Bears, the Lions at home. They're at the Seahawks, who are now in that bottom rung now, because there's a couple teams now. There's a lot more teams this year that are way in the tank that are just like reset, rebuilding, including the Bears, the Seahawks now. They also play the Panthers at home. So like the Giants are and we don't like Washington. You get 2 games against them. I think even if they don't improve that much, that team last year could find its way to 7 wins. But I think just with better health, upgraded staff, I think that, in these 2 top 10 picks, I think there's a really good shot the Giants go over 7 here.
All right, let's go to NFC North. And I'll start off by saying, I know you said this is the Packers division. I think you fade the Packers. I think that the Packers are one of the teams that when I was looking at early futures, and this was even before they traded Devontae Adams, I felt that this team was just overrated. And I feel like that even more. I just don't think there should be a 2-win disparity between them and the Vikings at this point, because, I mean, say all you want about Aaron Rodgers, but, the 2 things because remember, he was kind of average for a while there, he wasn't great, elite Aaron Rodgers for like a couple, a few years in there. And then you get LaFleur, you get Hackett, and things turn around. And now you lose your best receiver who's getting, about 34% of your yardage and touchdowns. And you lose your offensive coordinator who, yes, you still got the head coach, but that's like 2 of the most important factors to, a quarterback succeeding. And if Aaron Rodgers is not like MVP Aaron Rodgers, then, if he's just like good, but not great Aaron Rodgers, which could very well happen, I just think the Vikings have a real chance, because the Vikings they're not amazing. They don't wow you, but they're pretty solid across the board. And I mean, some of their losses and hiccups are just maddening and just, kind of just some combination of bad luck and just all these, injuries and just stupid decisions at the end of games sometimes. But I mean, I see the Vikings as a legitimate threat here in the NFC North with the Packers in this situation, just with their receiving core and, so reliant on Aaron Rodgers.
I agree. I don't know if I can convince myself that the Vikings can make a deep run. I mean, they're 40-1. But similar to the Giants, I think a coaching change and coaching methodology change, especially on offense, could go a long way here. I didn't like some of the moves they made. I mean, they brought in Zadarius Smith, Harrison Phillips, Jordan Hicks, re-signed Patrick Peterson. They lost Pierce, Xavier Woods, and Conklin. But they're going to switch to a 3-4 on defense. It's going to go from the Zimmer D to something else. But I think without Zimmer, I think the offense can really take a step forward. Can the young pieces on the offensive line and the secondary take a jump? That's the key for the Vikings. But yeah, I mean, I don't have the Vikings and Packers. I agree. I mean, the Packers win total is sitting at 11. Over 11 minus 120, which I think is high with their schedule. Granted, they play in an easy division. I project them at like 10-7, 10-8. And then the Vikings win total is sitting at 9. I project them at 9.5. Yeah. So I'm closer to like a win and change differential. And like, yeah, I mean, the Packers, Devontae Adams is huge. Rodgers is another year older, and he just took so much. I mean, that contract, I mean, good for Aaron Rodgers. You do get Alexander back. You hope that Stokes takes another step forward, and then your secondary looks a lot better than it did last year. But, you're replacing Adams with Watkins pretty much. You added Jaron Reed. You lost Zadarius Smith, and then something that not a lot of people are talking about. The offensive line isn't going to be as good with some of their losses. You lose Turner, you lose Patrick. I know they have a lot of depth there, but I agree. It's hard for me to see the Packers not winning this division. It's just what they do, but I don't think that this team is anywhere close to as good as they've been in years past. And yeah, I wouldn't hate taking the Vikings like 3-1 shot to win the division.
Yes.
For sure. The Packers will be in the playoffs. Pretty confident saying that because now there's another extra team that makes it. But I could see the Vikings winning this division. And I do think there's value at 3-1 because, as you said, I only have the difference a little over 1 win instead of the implied 2.
And this is one of those divisions where, listen, it's early, right? It's, we're talking about this. It's late April, but if you're looking to bet on a division future, I mean, at this point, you're getting the Vikings at 3-1, and we pretty much know it's going to be a 2-team race. Like the Bears are 8-1, the Lions are 12-1. We can fairly confidently say those teams are at least a year away still. Like I don't think the Bears and Lions are going to be challenging for that number 2 spot in the division. And so that's why I like the Vikings bet. It really comes down to like Vikings 1 or Vikings 2. and you're getting 3-1 on the, that they can't finish one. And I mean, injuries happen, randomness happens, and that's what you got to kind of take advantage of. So yeah, that's probably my favorite bet is just Vikings to win that NFC North. Regardless how you feel about the win total, obviously I think they go over 9 if they win it. But 3-1 to win the North is pretty good. The Bears win total 7, the Lions win total 5. I don't really think we need to talk too much about that. So let's just keep it moving to the NFC South. We have.
Yeah, I will say I do like Bears win totals. Lions, yeah, I'm pretty spot on. So yeah, I'm at like 5-7ish. I'm really low on the Bears. What are you seeing for Bears right now? Under
it's at 7
minus 135, which is like
don't feel great about it.
Yeah, I like the under. If I had a bet there, I mean, this is a Bears team. I like the hire. I like the regime change, but this is a Bears team that had to blow everything up, right? The previous regime, when they were going for it, I mean, their cap was an absolute disaster. So they had to get rid of Allen Robinson, Mack, Goldman, Hicks, Peters, Affetti, Nichols, Dan, go on and on and on. They just completely gutted their roster. And I think intelligently, getting rid of, contracts like Mack, and they have to start over. Now they have a little higher upside than the Lions because, kind of know what Jared Goff is. And what can Justin Fields do in year 2. But I think this team is a mess. I like the hire of Eberflus. I think it's going to be some people don't. I actually really do love it. But this is a year. They have no first-round pick. They're cleaning up the cap this year. They are just building for the future. So, yeah, last year their win total was 7.5. I think they were significantly better. Under 7, I'll pay the juice to go under 7. I don't see this team winning 8 games. Lions are who they are. They're going to fight hard, but they didn't really do anything. I mean, who did they add? Mike Hughes, add DJ Chark. That's about it. They're in a good cap spot, and I think that they're building for the future. But 3 top 35 picks. Still don't believe in their secondary. The receivers are Goff. I'm a little higher on the win total, but nothing there. But I do like the Bears under, and I agree with you. Vikings for the division.
Yeah, the Bears are just in a tough spot because they got a defensive head coach, but the defensive personnel isn't there. They still have issues on offense, and Getsy, he was in Green Bay too, so that's another guy Rodgers loses. I believe he was the passing game. He was the quarterback's coach and then the passing game coordinator for the Packers. So, but he's a first-year coordinator. So, I mean, yeah, they're just a year away, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've been clowning the Bears. I've been betting Bears win total unders. By the way, I'll have my win total under piece on actionart.com for my 5 or 6 official. Haven't lost one in the last 3 years. Nice. But I have 4 pushes. But I'm like 8-0-4. I'll have my 5 or 6 official ones. Bears will be under there, and I always clown the Bears. Bears fans, I think that there is some hope. The only thing that I would worry about if I was a Bears fan this year, and obviously it's the NFL. You want to start out with hope and, maybe you get lucky and get to the playoff. I think that they're going to be able to build this right. You build it back up. Just comes out of Fields. Look for Fields progress every week. That's all you need.
Yeah.
And if that happens, you have hope, because I do think that the regime change is going to be a positive in the long run. If the quarterback works out. It doesn't matter what you do from a coaching perspective if you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I actually think quarterback isn't as high on the Bears list of worries. I mean, I just think the roster needs,
I'm just saying they're resetting the entire
right.
roster. But if you have a young quarterback for 2-3 years from now,
yeah,
that'll give you a shot then.
But
it's gonna be a long year.
The issue is, I mean, and look at the AFC. Look at what these teams are doing with these quarterbacks on their rookie deals.
By the time he might
and Allen and Herbert, looking at the Bears,
by the time he might actually
Fields.
Get the roster,
then
he's gonna have to get paid, and then it makes.
That's what we're here for. This is how I feel about it. It's like everybody who's a fan of a team, and I'm sure some people realize it, some people don't. If you've been following long enough, you do. But this time of year is puff piece season. Everyone's talking about optimism and hope. And if you just get the pieces and this and that, it's up to us to just give you this is what it really is. We have no allegiance to none of these teams. I mean, I know you're a Ravens fan and whatnot, but you always speak very honestly about them and you're pretty good at handicapping them as it is. But it's this is our job. It's to just tell you what it is. And Bears are just not in a good spot right now, unfortunately. It's just that Matt Nagy 1 year where they went 12-4, that might be their peak for a while. So.
Yep.
All right, let's go to NFC South. Tampa Bay leading the way with 11.5 wins. You have the Saints at 8, the Panthers at 6, the Falcons at 5. I don't know. Where do you want to start here? Because it's like Tampa Bay and everyone else.
Yeah, we can start at the top with Tampa. I mean, they do need to address their guard position. They lose Marpet and Cap, and that's obviously important when you're talking about Brady. They did get Shaq Mason. I think that's probably where they're going to target the first round. Just give me another guard because pretty much their roster's intact. You're going to get Godwin back. They lost Jordan Whitehead at safety, OJ Howard, Ronald Jones, but like this is the same. I assume Gronk's going to come back at some point. Pierre Paul and Sue are free agents currently, but their main questions
bad last year. So I don't
so
think
bad. But I'm just saying, like the pieces that you've heard of, this is like this is basically the same team. Their problem is depth, youth. They could use some help now at guard because they lost their 2 guards and the defensive line. But, because it's an aging defensive, but this is like Tom Brady. I doubt he's going to be here after this year. So this is just, all right, one last hurrah. Then the Bucs will probably end up having to be like the Bears. I assume they're in a bad cap place. So they need to fill out the roster. I don't even know how they're going to fill out the roster because if you look at who they have and then how many they have to sign and then the rookie class, they have no cap space. It's pretty messy there, but they stay healthy. This is one of the best teams in the NFL with Tom Brady back in the fold. I don't see any value in them. Win total 11.5. I make it 11. I make them 11.3. So the question is, and their Super Bowl odds 7-1. They're minus 280 to win the division. Like, no thanks. The question is, the Panthers, they still don't have a quarterback. I'm not a Malik Willis believer. Some people are. I don't think Kenny Pickett can come in and star as a rookie. So they don't have a quarterback. So I have no interest in backing this team. I do like some of the veterans. Like they had like a bunch of swaps. So they got rid of a bunch of like mid veteran guys and then added some. I like some of the guys they did bring in. They have a lot of new faces, but they just don't have a quarterback. If you want to bet the Panthers now, the interesting thing, and the Falcons are a mess. The Falcons are like the Bears. They're starting over. They were in a bad spot because the previous regime went for it and they needed to reset and restart. And that's why they got rid of Ryan. But they need a lot of help across the board. This is a team last year. They went 7-10, but they were, we talked about all year. DVOA, they're like 30th. They were one of the worst teams.
Yeah, they beat up bad teams. That's pretty much all they did.
Yeah, they got way worse. Atlanta win total over 5 minus 120. I make them 4.5. So I would lean under there. Carolina, I lean under, but if you want to bet Carolina, here's the interesting thing. I think their offensive line could be a little better. Is Matt Rule's obviously on the hot seat. I think he knows that Darnold's not the answer. So the question is, are they going to draft Willis at 6? I don't know. I mean, their GM, they've traded picks for their only pick in the top 100 is pick 6, which is bad because this roster needs help. So, but do they go out and then, because they're in a division that's maybe vulnerable besides the Bucs, but they're one like Brady injury away from winning from potentially winning this division. If they maybe just went out and said, let's go get Jimmy G, who we know is a serviceable quarterback who can win games against, teams to get to 8 to 9 wins. So does Rule just say, look, we're going to get Jimmy G. We're going to trade this pick 6 for 2 late round first round picks or a first and a second, help the roster out some more. Basically Rule just being like, I'm just trying to save my job this year. I don't know. So maybe there's upside with the Panthers if they do bring in a veteran quarterback, because I just hate Sam Darnold. I think for me, that would be a big upgrade from Sam Darnold to Jimmy G, but really no interest in the Panthers. The most interesting team is the Saints here to me. They won 8 games last year. Their win total, they won 9 games last year. Their win total is 8. It was 9 last year. They get Jameis Winston back, who showed strides last year. And the main question here is can Winston continue that development without Peyton? How much of the Winston we saw last year was Peyton and how much was it not? And we've seen Allen, the new head coach for it didn't really work out well, but I actually don't mind him. You're going to get Thomas back. You do still have some holes at wide receiver and safety. The offensive line, you lose Armstead, isn't as great. But here's what I think. If I was the Saints, where I think that there's some potential upside with the Saints, I don't mind their win total over 8. Sign Honey Badger, get your other safety because you lost Marcus Williams and Jenkins are tired. You got Marcus May, and sign Honey Badger, go sign a veteran receiver, and then get a left tackle, maybe a D lineman or a receiver in the draft. And I think this team's a 9 to 10 win team as long as Winston doesn't revert back to who he was. So that's the question: can Winston continue what he was doing without Peyton? If so, I think this is a potential wildcard team, and I think there is some value on their win total over 8. I'm at 8, 9. And I think that there's some things that they could do in the draft and then bring in some veterans to address receiver and safety, a couple guys that are out there. So the Saints are the interesting team here. What are your thoughts on New Orleans?
Yeah, I'm kind of pessimistic because I think they have some big holes at some spots that, in the past were good for them, like tackle and safety. And then I just look at their schedule and they're, obviously you got the home games against Atlanta. And you got the 2 games against Atlanta and Carolina each. That's great. They should be able to beat those teams, but
they'll sweep the Bucs. They'll sweep the Bucs too. We know that. That's 6 wins.
Maybe, but
6-0 in the division. We know that. When's the last time the Bucs beat the Saints in the regular season? But the Saints have had their number for
they have. But so you have but you also have the home games of Ravens, Bengals, Raiders, Rams, Vikings, Seahawks are the only one you say, okay, that's the edge to the Saints. And then on the road, you got the Cardinals and the Browns and the Eagles and the Niners and the Steelers. There's just not, if the Saints are this 7-ish, 8-ish win team, I just don't know if this is the year that they could play above, overachieve. And then I really worry about them overachieving without Peyton, because we've talked about it on the show so many times where we're just betting on the Saints because, Peyton is an underdog, Peyton in, different spots that I just feel like he gave them so much of an edge that, I worry about how it's going to look without him. I worry about how Jameis is going to look without him. Dennis Allen, now he's going to have more responsibility. He was great for their defense, but we've seen this happen in the past. Coaches that, kind of have that little more laid back demeanor and, very good as a coordinator, they get into these head positions and it's just they kind of bite off more than they could chew. You have more tasks. You have to do more. Does that affect the defense in any way? I'm in a wait and see mode with the Saints because I do agree. I think roster wise, if they can plug some holes with their draft picks and whatnot, they could be in a good spot. But I can't going into the draft as of right now. I wouldn't go over that with them. And Panthers, I kind of agree. There was a time when I was hey, Tom Brady was retired. Panthers are sitting. I was if there's any team that may kind of outkick the coverage in this division, it's probably the Panthers. But now I'm hearing that Matt Rule might not even care that he's on the hot seat and doesn't mind going back to college. And, there's clearly disagreements at the quarterback position. And it just doesn't sound like a good spot either. So, they're another team until we actually see what they are going to do at quarterback. I can't recommend going over. 6 is kind of, it's a little too low to go under at this point either. Like you said, maybe they get a guy like Jimmy G. Maybe they're the second best team in the division by default. So this is a division I don't really want to bet on right now. It's just kind of a stay away. I don't, the Bucs are overvalued you're not really gaining anything by betting -280 for them to win a division and holding your money there for 8-9 months at this point. So yeah, this is kind of a stay away division. I think we just have to revisit this after the draft.
I think I'm going to be on the Saints in some form or fashion. The interesting thing, we always like Peyton as a dog and in these spots. Yeah. What are we going to do? He's named all these spots. Winston as a dog, but then he's going to be a favorite against these teams where you could also lose to. So that throws another wrench in the Saints. Yeah. But I'm sure we're going to be backing the Saints on the road as some dogs at some point this year. But that is a long time away. Let's move on to the last division in the NFC.
Let's do it. NFC West. Got the Rams, the Super Bowl champion Rams, leading the way, 10.5 wins. You got the Niners, still with Jimmy G on the roster, Trey Lance, Debo, contract dispute. They're at 10 wins. Then you got the Cardinals at 9, Kyler Murray. What's going on with him? And then the Seahawks way down there at 6. What are your thoughts?
This is the look. You got the Debo situation. We don't know what's going to happen with Jimmy G. We're not fans of Cliff. Kyler Murray, who knows what's going on there. I didn't really like what the Cardinals did. I mean, I think they got worse. I mean, they re-signed. What did they do? They re-signed Connor Ertz, Max Williams, AJ Green. They got Will Hernandez, Gladney. That's like, I think that's all they did. They lost Chandler Jones. They lost Chase Edmonds. They lost Christian Kirk. They lost Jordan Hicks. And it's still Cliff, and they extended Cliff Kingsbury. I think that's a disastrous offseason for the Cardinals, not buying them. They were frauds all year, and they finally got exposed after just getting lucky with they re-signed Colt McCoy. Maybe Colt McCoy will take my money again. I was so mad when I saw it. They had no first-round pick. No first-round pick. Their cap's in a bad spot. They went 11-6 last year. They went over 8 was their win total. It's 9 this year. I project them 8.6. No,
yeah, they're at 500 team through and through.
Yep. Cardinals, no thank you. Look, the 49ers, who knows who's going to be their quarterback. The Rams, I don't think there's any value in the Rams. They're the Super Bowl champions. They have no top 100 picks.
Yeah, that's like that. Let me just
Seahawks. Yeah. This is the Seahawks division with. Oh wait, never mind. It's Drew Lock, and the Seahawks are very, very bad. Their win total is 6 over 6 plus 100. I project them at 5.2. They're really bad. So I might play the Seattle under. I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. Are they just going to trust Drew Lock to throw it to Noah Fant a million times? I don't know. I was assuming that I was going to bet the Rams under. They went 12-5 last year, ended up winning the Super Bowl. Their win total last year was 10.5. This year, it's over 10.5. Again, minus 115. I project the Rams at, so it's implied over 10.5 minus 115, like 10.6. I project them at 10.65. So nothing. I'm right there with them. But they lost some important pieces. Darius Williams, they lost Austin Corbett, Von Miller, Whitworth retired. So they have some questions at corner, linebacker, and on the offensive line. But no top 100 picks. And they got lucky last year. Can we say that? Like if Tart, was it Tart or Ward? I think it was Tart.
Tart dropped the ball. Yeah. The Bucs the Bucs decided not to cover Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, they didn't cover Kupp. But like Tart catches that. Les needs a moron for trading their entire future away. They got the Super Bowl, so it worked out, right? Like, so who cares what happens in the future? I mean, I know Rams fans still care, and they're still one of the best teams in the NFC. But I'm saying it did work out, and then everyone will be like, oh, and then now you have teams like that are doing the same thing, like just trading away their future to try and go for 1 year. I think that's the wrong approach, and the Rams got very lucky. And then they end up playing the Bengals in the Super Bowl. No disrespect to the Bengals, but the Bengals also got pretty lucky to get there, and they weren't the best team in the AFC. And they could have lost to the Raiders if a Derek Carr pass doesn't hit Hubbard's helmet. Anyway, so I thought that the Rams were going to be – look, they had Allen Robinson. I think is a nice addition. Maybe –
I mean, it may be a nice addition. Like
maybe. I don't know.
We haven't seen him play well in like a year now. So
yeah. But, I mean, he has been in a great situation. I don't know if this is like revitalizes him. It's a good high upside signing.
Yeah. No, it's a nice signing, but I'm saying like it's not like a smash.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Beckham. I haven't seen anything with him, but there's some more holes in this roster. I think the team got a little worse. They have the target on their back now. But I thought I was going to be betting the under, but I'm not. I'm right on cue. And that's mainly because I hate the Cardinals. The Seahawks are atrocious, and I'm lower than the market on them. And the 49ers have questions. Like, who's that? Maybe they're probably the most interesting team here. San Fran, because there's a lot of uncertainty in what's going to happen with them. You have Debo. What's happening with Jimmy G? I'm assuming he's not going to be there. It's going to be Trey Lance. And then it's okay. Where does Trey Lance stand? And how do you project him? They do add, Travarius Ward. They gave him a lot of money. I'm not in love with that signing. And they lost a number of guys as well. So, they're probably going to be there. I'm just not sure Lance is ready right now to take them to that next step. I am, let's see, their win total is 10, over 10. I'm at 10.2, 10.3. And that's like trying to juggle, okay, who's going to be the quarterback? I'm not even sure as of right now. And then the Debo situation, you lose Tomlinson at guard. So, yeah, I have questions about corner. even with the addition of Ward. Like, and you're adding like Denard. And so I wasn't in love with their offseason, and there's still a lot of questions with the 49ers. So this division's hard to crack. I wanted to fade the Rams, but it doesn't look like I will be doing so. Maybe I'll fade the Cardinals. Again, brutal home schedule, by the way, if you look at their home schedule. So, yeah, I think that this is – I lean some unders on some teams, maybe the Seahawks, maybe the Cardinals. And but I don't see any team worth taking a shot on. There's no value in the 49ers, for example, at like 14-1 to win the Super Bowl. So this division, to me, looks like a hard pass.
Yeah, it's on paper, you look at and you say these teams are probably going to be overrated, but then you think about the rest of the NFC. The NFC, I mean, the story of the offseason has been the arms race in the AFC, right? And you look at the NFC and it's like, I want to fade all four of these teams in the NFC West because I'm thinking this division probably not going to be as good, like roster-wise, personnel-wise, team quality-wise, as it has been in the past. It's been a really tough division, especially with Russell Wilson on the Seahawks. And then you look at the schedule and, like, for example, the Rams play, in addition to, the three teams in the division, they play, the Bills, the Cowboys, the Broncos, the Raiders, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Bucks, the Packers. So it's like the Rams have a tough schedule, only a couple of gimmies mixed in. They got the Panthers, they got the Falcons, those are, and the Seahawks. But, all those schedules are kind of similar, but it's just like, the rest of the NFC is so bad that somebody's going to have to win these interconference games. It's like the NFC East is pretty, it's not great. And maybe there's some wild cards out, that come out of there. There's two really, I think, going to be bad teams in the North. And then there's going to be two, maybe even three really bad teams in the South. And then the Seahawks should be really bad. So it's like these teams might all go over just, or at least push.
And we don't really like the Cardinals. We
don't like the Cardinals, but like they might get to 9 wins just because it's like,
no, but I'm saying for like the Rams to play the Rams and the Niners get to play them. It's not like we're like wowed by the Cardinals. So there's a lot of wins out there. That's why I have the 49ers and Rams at like 10.5 still. And they'll be in the mix. So like if you're a Rams fan, you went for it. I think you got a bit lucky, and that's what you want to do. And then here's the thing: you're still really good team in a very weak conference. So you're going to be in the discussion when we get to the playoffs.
Yeah. I would just say this. Oh, no, I was going to say, so the thing about the Rams, and again, we're talking, it's late April, right? So we're trying to give people any advice they can to bet these things. What I would say is that what I'm looking for in these situations, because your money's going to be held up for the next 8 months. So what I'm looking for, long shots at decent odds and teams that will increase in value after the draft. And the fact that the Rams just don't have any top 100 picks, they might very well go over their win total of 10.5. They 11-6 may even be their floor. 10-7 may be their floor, and they're like 60% to go over. But there's no real value there because this team is really not going to get much better than what we see right now. And there are other teams that could get better. So that's why, you look at a team like the Vikings and say, okay, Green Bay's overrated. It's a 2-team division race, Vikings. But with the Rams, it's
new staff for the Vikings, so upside.
Yeah, there. Uncertainty, right? With the Rams, it's like you're already paying the premium, so that's like it's if you want to talk about teams, fans, and people might get mad saying this, but no disrespect to the Rams. I'm out here in LA, great city, great support for them on their Super Bowl run and whatever not. Great roster, great coach, but it's all priced in. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, they have questions on the roster. I mean, losing Darius Williams, I think, is important. I don't even know.
It's a little top heavy. Absolutely.
Where their starting corner is, you lose Whitworth and Corbett on the offensive line. And again, we don't know top 100 picks. They need like Cam Shelton or that Antoine, I forget his name, who they drafted last year, to step up on the offensive line. So they're going to need some guys to step up to fill some of the holes they have because they traded away all the draft picks. I don't think that there's much value to be had here in this division, and there's no upside teams. There's no upside shots. I agree with you.
All right, so that is going to do
Drew Lock. Unless you believe in Drew Lock,
no, we don't.
No,
edit it out. Edit out the Drew Lock. No one believes in him. Nah.
Wait. By the way, who is Seattle? What is? I don't even looked or heard anything. What's Seattle's plan? What quarterback are they? Are they in the mix for like Jimmy G or something?
So here's the thing.
Jimmy G's going to play for 8 teams next year.
Most people don't think that the 49ers would trade Jimmy G within the division. So the consensus seems to be right now.
Baker?
Anyway,
Is Baker going to go to Seattle?
I don't know if you saw Baker was on a podcast. I forget the podcast. I'm drawing a blank. But he was on a podcast. The point is, he even thought, he was like, they were like, where do you think you're going to win? He's like, honestly, probably Seattle. It's just what happened, I think, was with this quarterback market. Everyone thought there was going to be like 2 less quarterbacks on the market than there really were. Because like Brady comes back and, then, like everything kind of went, like Watson goes to Cleveland and then Baker's already on Cleveland and then Wentz goes to Washington and like, it's all this shuffling, but there's still like, everyone thought there was going to be more of like an arms race.
Well, Bridgewater goes to Miami.
Yeah.
Right. And like, he could have easily like gone back to Carolina or something. So you have Carolina now in the mix too for this. You hear him, Jimmy G and Baker.
It's like no one wants to make the first move because the value has gone down because there's not just Jimmy G on the market now. There's Jimmy G and Baker, and so it's like no one wants to overpay now for either of them because they're like, hey, well, we could get the other one, So it's a weird spot.
So how much you go out and get Cooper Rush, baby?
Who did he beat? The Vikings. He beat the Vikings. He beat Zimmer.
Still mad about that. He beat the Cowboys.
Yeah. Wait, no. Cooper Rush?
I mean, he beat the Vikings.
The Vikings. Yeah, that's the Vikings. Yeah.
And then who else is out? Garrett Gilbert? He covered for me once. Maybe someone is going to go and get him. I don't know.
Now, who's your boy? Who's your boy on the Jets? Is he still on the Jets? Mike White?
Oh, Mike White. Shout out Mike White. I assume, yeah. He's got to be, let's see. He's going to be mad. I think if he listens, he's going to be mad. Yeah, he's still on the Jets. Matt Rule, give him a call.
Shouts to Mike White, man. He had a little streak there. All right, yeah. So, Seahawks not in a good spot, but that's going to wrap it up. I guess just to recap. So I know there's not much, but what do you like in the NFC?
Yeah, I think if you want to take a long shot, look in the NFC East, whether quarterback you believe in. I might like the Giants, but one of my favorite bets in the NFC is the Giants win total over. I like the Bears win total under. Might go under Seattle, and then I agree with you that I think from a division bet perspective, like future, take a long shot. Look at the NFC East. Win total, also NFC East Giants. Division bet, I agree with you. I think it's Vikings, like 3-1. And NFC South, something's telling me to bet the Saints over their win total, but I haven't bet it yet, and I don't love it. But I would say those are my 3 favorites. Like maybe the Giants or Eagles is a long shot, maybe the Vikings too. But Vikings win the division, Giants win total over. I think would be my 2 favorites.
Yeah, Vikings for me, far and away favorite. You can get it as high as 3-1. I would take that down to 2-1 because I really think it's like a 2-team division race here. Between the Vikings and the Packers. I think the Packers are overrated. So to a lesser extent, I also like the Vikings win total. You're just not getting as juicy odds. So not as much incentive to bet it in April, but I know if you're listening to the show in April, you're probably willing to throw some bread down on it. So like that too. Agree with you. I think Giants and Eagles in the NFC East, if you want some teams to kind of go over on or take a long shot. And then if you want to be bearish on a team, go with the Bears, no pun intended. Think under 7 is a pretty good bet for them in that North division. Because I mean, there's a chance that the Lions could even be better than the Bears, and that's no disrespect to Justin Fields. I just think it's going to take more than 1 year to kind of turn this thing around in Chicago. And you have the offense is probably the bigger concern, but who knows what's going to happen with the defensive head coach, and then he's not going to have his personnel. I think.
Half point. I have a half point separating them right now. The Lions and Bears. Half point.
So Amon-Ra St. Brown, baby, year 2, 150 catches. All right, that's gonna wrap it up. Be sure to check out the AFC episode. We have an episode just like this on the AFC. It's also out right now, so be sure to check that. We go in depth on all the AFC teams. You can follow Stuckey on Twitter at Stuckey2. You can follow me at Chris Raybon, Raybon. You can follow us at those same handles in the free award-winning Action Network app, where you can follow our bets or track yours. And be sure to check out actionnetwork.com for all of our betting content across all sports and, of course, our NFL draft content. Until next time, let's get this money.